I've already interviewed this lovely woman, Gill, for Instagram Live when it was Mental Health Awareness Week, because the theme was loneliness, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So I think some of you guys were there at the live. Let us know in the chat. We'll get the chat box open. Hi Emma, hi David in the chat, I can see you. So let me just let you know what we are talking about tonight. We are going to be talking to Gill Hasson, author of Lonely Less. And Gill is a trainer and an author, a trainer and a coach in all things well-being and mental health. So tonight we're talking about how to be less lonely, but also how to make friends as a grown-up, really. Something lots of us find really hard, I think. But loneliness is something we all feel at some point at different degrees, and I'm sure Gill will talk on this, but especially I think coming out of the pandemic, being at a festival this weekend surrounded by people was it was such a delight, but it was also quite overwhelming. I think just kind of being with that many humans and forgetting how much energy is required in being with people. But obviously then there's the energy lows that we have when we're not with people. So tonight we're going to be looking at like kind of strategies and ways that we can make sure that our connections they're good connections and they're serving us. And if we don't have good connections, then maybe how we can make better ones. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So everyone, it's just going to be Gill and I on screen tonight. And obviously we're going to use our chat box to chat. Gill is really happy for questions to be kind of posed as we go through. We're going to be talking on 4 different subjects tonight: how to meet new people and make friends, how to manage time alone, how to keep connected when working from home, a biggie for loads of us, I know, and also how to support others who may be struggling with feelings of loneliness, which I think is a really nice way to look at it and to round off the night. So yeah, any questions, share as we go in the chat box. And to get warmed up, why don't we say in the chat box, who's here, where are you, and what's your most embarrassing airport story? Just to get warmed up. And then I'm going to bring Gill on now. Gill, do you have an embarrassing airport story?
Well, only the times that I actually enjoy airports quite a lot, and particularly abroad. You know, the Gatwick and Heathrow I know reasonably well, but when you go to other airports, some of them are really good, and there's loads of shops, and the amount of times that I've got so caught up in the airport experience that I've looked at my watch and gone, oh my God, look at the time, run!
It's the mad dash with all the stuff that you've just bought, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So do you want to introduce yourself and kind of and why you wrote a book on the subject of loneliness and connection?
Yeah, I wrote it because it's something that I feel is very debilitating when you know, I'll explain a little bit in a minute what loneliness is and why we feel it. There's nothing sort of abnormal about it, but it can lead to all sorts of other problems. It can, you know, your self-esteem, your confidence can be reduced. You can feel isolated. There's a whole, you know, anyone who's been lonely, and I think to some extent we all have at some point in our lives in different situations. It's not nice. It really isn't nice. And I think that there are definitely, I feel there are ways around being lonely. It's not something that you have to experience. It is something, though, you have to put time and effort into reducing. And I'll explain that later.
Yeah, and I like how you say if you feel lonely, then you are lonely. So it's kind of it's a real feeling, isn't it? And it's like recognizing that feeling. And I think as well, the idea of being lonely and saying I'm lonely, there's still quite a stigma attached to it, maybe, or it doesn't seem like it's not something you maybe want to share with people. So I think tonight is really good to have a conversation around, like you say, what it is, and then ways to kind of to manage it.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, there's a saying that I think might be a northern saying. Well, it's the first time I heard it was from friends from Liverpool. They used to have a saying, you know, oh, I'm Billy No Mates.
Yeah, we say that.
You know, so, yeah, when you've got, it is sort of like, you know, and it would be something to laugh about where it's said in that way. But actually, yeah, there's a stigma to it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Shall we? Do you want to kind of crack on then? And I will. What I'll do is I'll turn my microphone off, but I'll be in the chat. And so if there's any questions, then I'll flag them to you. Shall I?
Yeah, please do. Definitely. Yes. Thanks.
Okay. Great.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks so much.
So yeah, hi everyone. as Tony said, we're going to be looking at loneliness. We're going to look at what loneliness is today and how to meet new people and make friends. Then how to manage time alone. How to keep connected when working from home. So I know a lot of you will be working from home, have been since lockdown, and continue to do so. And then how to support others that you know that may be struggling with loneliness. So that's what we're going to look at this evening. So yeah, and the other thing is you might want to grab a pen and paper, or on your phone, the note bit, you know, there might be, I'll ask you a couple of questions, all of you, that you might, I'll just say, you know, just jot down or just think of certain things, and we can have a bit of feedback there. But yes, it's not going to be just me talking. I'm going to get you all to do a bit of thinking. Okay, so loneliness. Well, alone, there's a difference between loneliness and being alone. Alone is simply to be separate, to be apart in some way. So you could be physically alone, you could be the only person in a room, or you could be emotionally alone in that you're the only person that has a particular feeling or belief or an opinion about something. And again, you might feel fine about that. The crucial difference between being alone and being lonely, though, is how you feel about it. And as Tony said, I've already emphasized this in the past, that if you feel lonely, then you are lonely. No one else can go, oh, don't be silly, you're not lonely. No, if you feel lonely, then you're lonely. Thing is, as human beings, we're social beings. We need to interact with others. We're hardwired to connect in positive ways and feel that we belong and are valued. So it's sort of a safety mechanism as well to keep us all together and living and working and cooperating and collaborating together. So we're meant to be with other people. So loneliness serves a purpose in the same way that hunger and thirst do. It's not nice to feel hungry, and it's not nice to feel thirsty. Those are uncomfortable physical feelings to prompt you to have something to eat or have something to drink. And feelings of loneliness are an uncomfortable emotional feeling that prompts you to make connections, reach out to other people. So those feelings are a natural prompt to reach out and meet other people, to talk to other people, to make friends with other people. So I think what's important to know is that although there is a stigma to feeling or admitting that you're lonely, actually they're natural feelings, just like hunger and thirst are. So it's not actually something to be ashamed of. It's something that you feel that actually should be prompting you to do something about it. The difficulty often is that you just think, well, yeah, what do I do about it? I can't just, put an advert out, wanted 10 friends. It's really not that simple. There's more to it than that. Let's just briefly have a look at the sort of different types of loneliness, because there's 3 main types. There's social loneliness, and that happens when you feel that you've got very few or no friends or family or community. You've got little or no contact with other people, and you're unhappy about that. You don't spend time with other people, enjoyable time. Then there's emotional loneliness, and that happens when you feel that you're lacking a close, meaningful relationship with other people. So you might even have friends or family, but you just feel there's not a connection there. Maybe you don't feel that you've got a shared warmth and understanding and empathy. So then, and the sort of final type of loneliness is something called existential loneliness. And this happens when you're feeling entirely separate from other people, feel disconnected as a result of a real difficulty, sometimes a trauma in your life. You could have experienced an accident, an illness, a disability, a terrorist attack, something that you feel that no one else has experienced, and they just don't understand, and that can really leave you feeling disconnected and anxious and vulnerable. But what we're going to talk about today, if you want to know more about the other two types of loneliness, emotional and existential loneliness, then this is where I advertise the book. Then please do buy the book. But for today, because we've got a short, thank you, Tony, because we've got such a short amount of time, relatively short, I'm going to focus on social loneliness. So the first question to think about for yourselves is, what if you feel that you want more friends, more connections with other people, what actually do you want in the way of connections and friendships with other people? Think about, is it that you just want some people to hang out with, to do fun, interesting things together? Maybe you want people that you can go and see a film with, go to gigs, go to festivals like Tony's just been to, go to the pub, go out and eat out, go to sports matches, sort of go to events and do things together. Do you want friends? And this sort of goes more towards the emotional loneliness, really. Do you want friends, like-minded friends, people that you can get emotional support from, that you can share thoughts, feelings, ideas and experiences with, but not just sit there and have a pity fest. I'm not suggesting that anyone wants to do that, but just people that you feel they understand you and get on with you and you can do things with. So really we're crossing over into social and emotional loneliness there. So it's useful to really actually think, what actually do I want here? In the same way that if you go on I haven't done this, but I have friends that do. I'm married. That you go on a dating website. You've actually you think about what sort of other person you'd be interested in meeting, what sort of people that you like. It's the same with friendships. I know that sounds really cold and calculated, but if you're having difficulty making friends, meeting new people, you do have to start with, well, what actually do I want? Because otherwise, you've got a sort of scattergun approach. You're just vaguely trying to make friends with people, but think more about actually what do you want. Okay, so that's the first sort of top tip. Do that first. Then I'm going to ask you to now think of a friend you have had in the past, or you have a friend now. Think of a particular person. How do you know them? And where did you meet? And how did you become friends? Just think for a few seconds about someone you know and think, oh yeah, that's right. We met at work, or we met at school, or we met at a club. And then just think about, how did we become friends? Oh yeah, we started doing this together, or it turned out we were part of a group and we were all doing things together all the time. So I could sort of, I see that someone's put, you met through a friend of a friend, and you bonded over Tony Robbins. Yeah, great. You had something in common, something that you got talking about. I'm thinking about a friend of mine, Lara, who I met when we both we found ourselves going to the same sort of training days for the professions that we were in about 20 years ago. And we bonded over the fact that we were quite, we behaved like schoolgirls in it. We just kept sort of going, this is rubbish. What's she talking about? And having a laugh about it. We were being naughty schoolgirls, and then that's how we started. But we've all got different ways that we've met people. And I could stop right now and just go, okay, there you go then. You've made friends with people before, there you are, you're sorted. Now go out and make some more, just like you already have. But there are so many ways of meeting friends that just because you met somebody, for example, as somebody has just said, that it was through a friend of a friend and you bonded over Tony Robbins, doesn't mean to say that everyone else you now are going to meet are going to be friends of friends and you're going to bond over a particular person that you both admire. There's all sorts of different ways of meeting new people. And they take time and effort. That's the thing. That's the other thing. Think about the people who have been friends now or in the past. It's rare that you automatically become a friend. I know we've all had possibly that experience where you've met someone and you've become really good friends from day one, but friendships take time. So there's an author called Jessica Pan. She's written a book called Sorry I'm Late, I Didn't Want to Come, an introvert's year of living dangerously. And she challenged herself to try a whole range of new activities that she'd never done before. After she became unemployed and her closest friends moved away, she reflected on what she wanted from life. And what she wanted, she writes in her book, I'll read it here, I've got it written here, is she said she wanted some new friends who I felt truly connected to and more confidence. Was that too much to ask? Surely not. So what were other people with close friends and rich, fulfilling lives doing that I wasn't? Eventually, and with mounting fear, I realized they were having new experiences, taking risks, making new connections. They were actually out there living in the world instead of staring out at it. And I thought that was quite inspiring that she recognized this about herself. So if, like Jessica, you want to connect to others and make new friends, the good news is that there are people out there who are open to meeting new people too, but you've just got to find them. They're unlikely to come knocking on your door. You remember when, for a lot of you, I used to live in a little cul-de-sac when I was a child, and we were in probably a close of about 30 houses, and it was all young families. And so children did literally come and knock on your door and go, "You're coming out to play," even though you didn't really know them that well when we first moved there. But I suppose, neighbours, when you move to a new area, occasionally some of us are fortunate that a neighbour will knock on the door and welcome you. But generally, people don't come knocking on your door. You've got to make the effort. You've got to be willing to meet other people. You've got to be yourself, and you've got to give something of yourself. And you've also obviously got to be interested in other people. So where to start? Well, a good place to start is with your interests. When you have interests and activities that you enjoy, you can meet and join in with people with similar interests, which also makes it easier for you to talk to them because you've already got something in common. So you share similar interests and values. So just now, either write down or think to yourself 3 things that you like doing. You might already have a hobby, something to do with sport, arts and culture, theatre, cinema, gardening, or it could even be things that you like doing in the past that you no longer do. You still like to do it, but just life got in the way. So it doesn't matter if you can only think of one thing, but just, we've all got something that we're interested in or we could do. So one of the things that you can do, because this is nationwide, and this is why I often talk about this, because I know that we've all got access to this. In fact, it's not just nationwide, it's a global organisation, and that's called Meetup. So that's www.meetup.com. And they enable people to find and join groups of other people in their local area who share each other's interests. So you go on to Meetup and you can look up what there is in your area, say within 5 miles of where you live, 25 miles, I think up to 30 miles. Have a look anyway. But there's a wide range of groups to meet a wide range of interests. There's book groups, art groups, film and theatre groups, sci-fi groups, hiking and running groups, football groups, netball groups. I was telling a friend the other day about my husband does walking football, and she thought I was making a joke. And I said, no, really, walking football and walking netball are both a thing. They're for older people. but yeah, for guys that no longer can run around a football pitch, there's just a huge range of things. There's groups on Meetup that you'll find that are centered around particular age groups and cultures and identities. There's, 20s meetup groups, 30s meetup groups, 40s to 60s. There's Japanese appreciation groups, conservation groups, single groups, LGBT groups, and so on. You can even start up your own meetup group. And the people who go to meetups, this is another really good thing, is that they do so knowing that they'll be meeting people who are also open to meeting other people with a shared interest. So they're not closed clubs. Well, if you go on their website, you'll see that their meetings are posted on whatever the particular interest is, and you can just say that you're coming or you're not coming. You'll find, and if you find people who are just as keen as you are, for example, on board games or Nordic walking or craft beers, you are going to find it easy to make contact and make friends with them. You get to do something you enjoy and also have the opportunity to meet new people. But what I've just said there is look for something that you're already interested in, but of course you can try something new. As well as a current interest or hobby, there could be something like you might want to join a Spanish-speaking group, or learn to dance the tango, or paddleboarding, or cold water swimming, photography, Mexican cooking. There's just a massive range of things out there. And obviously, I'm aware that if you live in a city, there's going to be a wider range of things going on. But, take a chance. Try, if there's just a small range of things going on in your area, try something that you would never have thought of doing before. I once got invited, I think it was 2 years ago, just before lockdown, by a friend to go paddleboarding. I thought a group of our friends were going. It turned out I was the only one. I just thought I'd go along because it would be a day out with the girls. Turned out I'm the only one going with my friend. And I was full of resentment and thought, I really don't want to do this. I don't like cold water and I don't know why I'm going, and like a child. Anyway, I got on the paddleboard, still with a feeling of resentment, and I don't know why I'm here, although I didn't say this to my friend. I was flipping brilliant at it. I had no idea that I could be so good. My friend fell in several times. I didn't fall in once, and it was windy. So it's amazing if you put yourself out there, what you might find that you're good at, or that you enjoy, or you meet people that you really enjoy. So, okay, yeah, try something, a new hobby or an interest. Also, take a class. You can find, I know adult education, because I've worked in adult education for years. I know that, the sort of evening classes that most local colleges ran, there's nowhere near as wide a range now. But if you go on findcourses.co.uk, and then put in search fun, hobby and exercise classes, you'll find a whole range of courses and classes in your area that are worth giving a go. Lots of people who go on any sort of outside courses, adult education courses, meet people there, again, because you're interested in the same thing. And often when it's a course, you're all trying, and so you're being supportive and encouraging of each other as well. So it's a great atmosphere. If you're an older,
can I just ask you, do you have any tips for people on going to group things? Because I think sometimes the resistance is the nerves about like not knowing people, kind of being new at something, being the first, like a new one in the group. Do you have any tips on, I suppose, is it being more confident, or just kind of just feeling the fear and doing it anyway?
Definitely. I'm going to come to that in a second. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony. I will. I'll just say a couple of other things is that, go to find courses to find courses. If you're an older person, or someone who is, or you're retired, the University of the Third Age, U3A, has some amazing courses and classes and talks that are worth going to. Then there are apps that help people connect with each other, things like, and I know some of you will have heard of these before, Friender, It's a swipe type app, but the profiles you see aren't random. You build your profile, you add your interests, and then there's suggested matches, just like a dating website. There's Together Friends, and that's particularly for women. It's a website for women who want to make friends, and they put you in touch with people in your area. There's Peanut, which is an app for mums to meet other mums. There's Meet My Dog, an app for dog owners to meet other dog owners. And then there's Nextdoor, nextdoor.co.uk, to meet, you know, who's in your area and what's going on in your area. And then finally, before I get on to, that's all very well, but how do I talk to people? Volunteering. I'm a huge advocate of volunteering. It's a great way to meet other people and experience positive relationships, either because of the people that you're helping maybe, or the other volunteers that you're working with. So doit.org is a database of UK volunteering opportunities. And you can get in, you know, you can meet all sorts of people with all the things that I've just said. And yes, if you're anxious about taking the first step, attending a new group or a new activity for the first time, assuming that you do have at least one friend, family member, or a colleague that you could ask them to come with you. Ask them to just say, you know, I'm not asking you to come to every night of this new club or this group, but I just really like the support. Would you come? So for example, with my mum, when she was widowed, my mum and dad used to walk a lot and together out in the countryside. And I suggested to mum, well, look, there's a walking group in your area. And she said, oh, I don't want to go. I'm nervous about meeting, you know, going on my own. And I said, well, I'll come with you. Why don't I come with you for the first couple of meetings? And then if you like it, I'll leave you to it, because she lives half an hour away. So I wasn't going to do that each week. And I did go with her for the first couple of sessions. She enjoyed the people she was meeting. And then actually that gave her something to talk to me about afterwards as well, because I'd met some of the people. So just ask somebody, you know, you don't have to feel that you're being very needy. Just say, look, I'd really like to go to this. Be honest, I'm nervous about going. Would you come with me? You can also, with some organisations, phone the organizer in advance and say, I'm nervous about this. I know of one organisation where when you phone and tell them that, they say, don't worry, we'll come out to meet you. We'll meet you in the car park and then we'll come in with you, which is a lovely thing to do. And a top tip for anyone here that does run any sort of social club, then that's a really nice thing to do. So, I think also with confidence, it's not easy. And don't feel that, I think the other thing is, don't feel that you've got to be the life and soul of the party as soon as you get there. You know, go along with no other reason other than to see what it's like. Go as if though, you know, don't have any big expectations. And if it doesn't work out, try another one. But just go as if though, I don't know, as if though you're an anthropologist going to watch and see what's going on, or as if though you're a journalist that you're going to write it up later. You know, don't build it up to be a big thing. You just need to, just go along with no expectations, and know that you're going to do more than one. You're going to go to more than one. This is just one of many things you're going to try out, maybe to see what they're like, and be able to compare them and meet new people, and then just take it from there. And I think one of my top tips, really, and it's something I do myself, and it's sort of become second nature now, is to imagine that the other person, if you do chat to someone, imagine that they're already a friend. So just chat normally as if though, you know, with the same sort of sense of ease. You know, a friend would respond positively if you approach them. So pretend that whoever you start talking to is already a friend. Just try and relax. I know it's easier said than done, but just take it easy and don't have too many expectations. And then once you do get to know people, that's the next step, is actually inviting them to do something together with you. So whether it's a colleague, a neighbour, someone you've already met at a club or at the gym that you're going to, a parent whose child goes to the same school as yours, just suggest doing something together. You've probably, because you've been chatting, you might know a little bit about what sort of things they like and what they're into. So, you know, suggest something simple. It might be going to a film or a play. It might be going to a sports match. It might be going to visit a garden or a National Trust property, or going to an exhibition. But you have to reach out. It might be something really simple, like they want to come over and play a board game or a video game, or watch a favorite show together. So, for example, again, using my mum, I suggested, she's 92, and I suggested at the last Strictly, I said, why don't you invite a friend over to watch the final? And she said, you know, I was thinking of that. And they ordered fish and chips and watched the final together and had a, you know, a lovely evening. Often it can be something as simple as that. Do you want to come around and, I don't know, watch Eurovision or watch the Queen's pageant, or, you know, something to think of things that have been on recently. So yeah, don't expect too much. Aim to make friends with a number of different people and invite people to do things. And if they decline, it's not you. It's, you know, we don't know what else is going on in other people's lives. Sometimes people will tell you, but often they won't. That's why it's important to get to know a lot of different people. So I'm going to move on now, unless you think of anything, Tony, that I need to respond to or can think of. I was going to move on to spending time alone.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it's normal to, obviously, to want to, as I've said, to connect and want to spend time with other people, but it's also important to feel at ease without other people and to be comfortable and enjoy some time alone. So instead of getting stuck in feelings of loneliness, we need to look for ways to make time on our own easier. And again, the way to do this is to do things that you enjoy and make you feel good. So think about anything that you like doing that you can do without anyone else. I know, you know, reading a book is an obvious one. So's watching something on TV. Those are very obvious things. But listening to music, playing music, you might have a musical instrument, playing a video game, gardening, arts and crafts, needlework. It's down to us to find what it is that we like doing on our own. Sometimes it literally requires us to write these things down and to be prepared once again to try new things. So that could be, for example, to learn a new language. A friend of mine's doing that. She's learning Spanish with Duolingo.com. That's a free website that where you can learn, as they say, learn a language for free forever is their strap line. That's something that you could do for half an hour a day. If you like writing, do some writing, keep a journal, write your life story, start a blog. Cooking, you've got to eat, so you're going to spend money on food anyway, so you could use it as an opportunity to learn new recipes. You can try something creative, doodling, drawing, painting, sculpture, calligraphy. There's dozens of different art and crafts activities that you could just try out on your own at home, or even go to a class. I once, a few years ago, went to a calligraphy class and learned the basics, and then that was something that I could do on my own at home. Drawing, photography, for all of it, so many of these things, there's instructional videos on YouTube as well. So be prepared.
And Jill, sorry, is it because using your time in a kind of like in a valuable way or in a productive way or creative way, is that because that's better for us mentally than obviously just kind of sitting there thinking about the fact we're alone?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, once you're absorbed in something that you really like doing, it's the thing about, so let's just say you were doing drawing. You might, that's creative, and you might never give anyone any of those drawings. You might screw them up at the end of it. So it doesn't have to, it can be creative or productive, but that's not so much the end game. And the same with learning a language, that, you know, you might never go to Spain. It'd be a bit odd if you learned Spanish and didn't take that opportunity.
Be a
But the
shame.
point is, it completely absorbs you. And that's something, a phenomenon known as flow. So this is a concept that when we're completely absorbed in something, and we've all experienced this, we've all been completely absorbed in something, looked at the time and said, oh, crikey, I had no idea that, you know, I didn't realize that was the time, because the time has literally just flowed. So when we're in a state of flow, there's no room in our heads for negative thoughts and feelings of loneliness, because we're engaged in something that we enjoy, that has a small level of challenge. It's not so difficult that we go, oh, I can't do this. But so it could even be, you know, things like Sudoku or a crossword, a jigsaw puzzle, just something that absorbs you. And you do need to try out a range of things and have a range of different things that you can do when you've got time on your own for different periods of time. Obviously, a 2-hour film is going to take up 2 hours, but yeah, a crossword puzzle might take half an hour. But it's having different things for different times that you're going to be on your own. And having said that, it could be a particular period that you're on your own. So, for example, if you know you're going to be on your own at Christmas, I have a friend who is, she's on her own at Christmas, but she's sort of happy to be on her own. Other people invite her, but what she does is goes and helps at the local animal rescue centre over the 2-3 days of Christmas, so that she doesn't feel on her own. And I think she sort of feels that, yeah, but if I, you know, people invite me for Christmas, but I'm still part of someone else's family, and that's, you know, that sort of highlights to me that I don't have my own family. So she finds that helping at the RSPCA, our local one here, over Christmas is, you know, she's just completely involved in that and really enjoys it. So yeah, sometimes you've got to think of particular periods, like if your partner's away, or yeah, particular holidays. Think of things, but other people can make suggestions. I've made all sorts of suggestions here, and there's lots more in my book, but you have to also come up with things, and you have to try them out. Other things that you can do are home study on your own. The Open University has a huge range of free short courses that you could get really interested in, that for things from like a 3-hour course on Janis Joplin and the Sexual Revolution to a 16-hour course on Napoleonic paintings. And then there's another course that they have, a 24-hour course called The Science of Nutrition and Health Eating. These are things that you'll learn stuff, but you're not doing it just to become more knowledgeable, but it gives you something to engage with and enjoy. So Open University, and another one is Future Learn, futurelearn.com. They give you access to a whole range of amazing courses that most of them are free. And when I've told friends about Future Learn, so many of them have looked it up and gone, oh, I've joined a course. I do it every Friday evening. It's great. So that's something else you can do. Something else you can do is volunteer from home for other people. You can map a disaster zone with missingmaps.org. You could knit or sew a book bag for children at bagbooks.org. You can help a child to read via bookmarkreading.org. You could even lend someone your eyes from home. And this is an app where virtual volunteers help blind or low vision people go about their daily tasks. So you could commit to a couple of hours a day doing that. You can also help Amnesty explore human rights violations. These are all things, voluntary work that you could do from home. So if you had mobility problems and you couldn't get out too much, this is something that you could do, or someone you know who would be interested in doing something. Centre of Excellence for Good Courses as well. I just seen somebody put up on the chat box. Yes, good, thank you. And of course, something that I'm a huge fan of in time alone is get outside, get out in nature. The Wildlife Trust has a searchable online map of all its nature reserves, and they're, you know, nice, safe places. Soa National Trust gardens, Green Space, which is Ordnance Survey's website. They have a map of green spaces that you can get outside. Spend time with animals. If you've got a pet, obviously that's something you can do on your own. Spend time with your cat or dog. And if you don't have a cat or dog, but you'd like a dog but don't have the time for it, but want to spend some time with the dog, go to borrowmydoggy.com. They connect dog owners with other people who would like to walk a dog or sit or share the care of the dog. Okay, so let's move on from there, just briefly about working from home.
Gill,
Well,
sorry, just before we
yeah.
go on, someone's just asked a question actually in the chat about about coping mechanisms, and about, I suppose, the idea of doing lots of activities just as a way to maybe distract yourself from the fact that of how you're feeling. Is that a risk, do you think?
A risk in what way?
Well, the question is, how do you stop that becoming a coping mechanism? And I think that's when we were talking about just doing a lot of things and keeping yourself very active when you're by yourself.
Yeah, from what I'm understanding there is like, oh, doing lots of things is a distraction, and that actually that's not coping, that's not facing how you're feeling. I would say to that, well, what else are you meant to do? Just sit and stare at the wall? Sitting and staring at the wall, it can be very lonely. I don't see it as a sort of, I don't see doing things as an avoidance technique. I see it as engaging. So I think I honestly do think it depends how you think of it.
Yeah,
it's more engaging with life than distracting yourself from your feelings. If you have deeper feelings of disconnection and low self-esteem and confidence, I would suggest that if you just do loads of things to try and not have to think about that then possibly you do need to explore that, and you'd need professional help for that. So
but that's different than just actually kind of choosing activities that are going to keep your brain busy and help you, like you say, learn something new, and then connect with other people probably as a result anyway.
Yeah, and just yeah, absolutely, and just engage with things. You know, you when you're doing something that you really enjoy and you've got this sense of flow, you do have a sense of connection. Connection doesn't just have to be with other people. Connection can be with activities, something that absorbs you, that you enjoy and that you like, that you feel part of. So yeah, so I think, yeah, I just think that it's easy to think, oh, you know, or about someone else, or they do all that stuff just so that they're not actually thinking about what's really going on in their life, what their problems are. And yeah, but that's a whole other issue. If you have got other problems in your life, then I would suggest you need to address them, and you might need some professional help to do that. But if it's just that, also that you're bored, yeah, I'm a bit lonely, I'm so bored, great, then get out there and start doing some things.
Yeah, we definitely learned that in the pandemic, didn't we, when we all started doing courses and all that kind of stuff, because yeah, it was boredom with loneliness.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the two can get a bit mixed up. So but if you're lonely, and maybe there is an emotional loneliness and existential loneliness, and that is something, certainly existential loneliness is something that you need support over, that more specialist support, you know, literally a support group around whatever it is that you just feel that you can't face, whether that, you know, any sort of traumatic experience. Yeah, people often really busy themselves so they don't have to think about that. As my friend who's a psychotherapist always says, yeah, but it leaks out in other ways. So yes, that busyness can sometimes obviously be that you're trying to put aside, not thinking about something that's happened. That's where you need support and help over that. But if it's just like I'm bored and I get sick of my own company and it just makes me feel a bit crap about myself, yeah, You need to be out there.
Cool. So awareness. Thank you.
Yeah. So then working from home, well, again, you've got to be prepared to make the effort to connect with people. You need to find, first of all, I'd say find other people, because this is so much more normal now, other people, neighbours, family or friends nearby who also work from home, and try and find a way to meet up with them for a short walk, sandwich in the park, a snack in a cafe or pub. I work from home and I spend large parts of the day on my own, because I'm writing, but I rarely feel isolated because I do arrange, not every single day, but a few days a week, to meet up with friends or family. So today I met my niece Jenny. She's a personal trainer, so she works from home. She's got her own gym at home. She's very lucky, but she's a personal trainer, and so she works from home. So today we met up after lunch for a walk for an hour and a half. It was raining when we started. The sun came out. It's absolutely gorgeous, and we both then came back, went to work. I felt completely refreshed, and I'd seen someone. You could go to a class, you can go to the gym. You've got to find ways to connect with other people. You've got to put yourself out there. It's the same thing. Find out who else is working from home in your area. Suggest, do you want to, I'm going to go for a walk at lunchtime. Do you fancy doing that? Again, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Just meet up and do something together. You've got to find ways to connect with other people. And sometimes even if you don't meet them physically, during lockdown, my husband and a few friends who happened to, most of them work from home anyway, actually. But they couldn't go anywhere or do anything, obviously, like the rest of us. So some of them live here in Brighton, where I lived. A couple live in London, all working from home. And they set up a daily album listening session. So they used a timer app, what's it called, liveclock.net, to synchronize the time at 5 o'clock at the end of each working day. And they would all listen to an album that one of them had suggested earlier that day. And then they had a WhatsApp chat group talking about, all the things they knew about, supposing it was a Rolling Stones album or something, all the little bits and pieces they knew about the Rolling Stones or gossip or chat. And they did this every day and they loved it. It was an opportunity just to, even though it wasn't in person, it was something that they were sharing and doing together. And as well as during the day, of course, make plans for after work as well. Plans that involve meeting up with family or friends or other colleagues who work from home. You don't have to do this every day, but again, you've got to put yourself out there. So I just want to finish really by talking about supporting someone else who might be lonely. That could be a parent, someone quite a bit older than you. It could be a friend who has moved away, or his or her circumstances have left them feeling quite disconnected. It could be a young person. It could be a teenager that you either know or is your own young person. So as far as you're concerned, then obviously you need to let them know when you're available. You might be able to see them very rarely. You might be able to see them once a week, but let them know when you're available. Say, I'm always around to chat at the weekends, or I can always pop in on a Tuesday or a Thursday morning. And keep in touch. Where, there might be it might be every few days, might be once a week, might be every couple of weeks, whatever's appropriate. Leave messages and texts for them just to say hello, or that you were thinking of them. Send a funny joke, the sort of things that we all do with text and WhatsApp with friends. Think if someone's particularly lonely, think of things that you might be able to just go, oh, hi, I just read this or saw that. So knowing that someone else is keeping them in mind can in itself give a sense of connection to other people. And then as far as doing things together, invite them to things. Obviously, they might not always want to, but invite them to a gathering, to a club or a party, to events, gigs or exhibitions. Actually think of something that they'd like to do, even if it's not your type of thing. Just say, I've read that this is on. Do you fancy going? if you've got commitments and it's someone it's someone who's far away, find out who else they know, what relatives or friends or neighbours that could support them, or what organisations are available near them, particularly for older people. And then encouraging them to connect with other people. I think you've got to find out what sort of things they like doing. Do they want to meet up with groups of people? Do they just want to get to know one or two other people? Do they want to get involved in activities on a weekly basis? Find out what they'd like to do, and also what their concerns are about connecting with other people. Are they not feeling confident? Would they like someone to go with them, like you? Or could you help them find someone who could go to, meet up with other people? What information and ideas do they need? So help them research what's out there, like the meetup groups, the classes and the courses. And if they are resistant, acknowledge that, yeah, it's not easy, but, you're a nice person. You've got strengths, you've got resources. Remind them what they'll gain by stepping out and how they'll improve their situation. Be encouraging and supportive. So if you can go with them, great, like I did with my mum when she was, worried about, I'd like to go to this walking group, but I'm worried about going on my own. If you can go, either you go with them the first couple of times, or find someone that will go with them. Of course, that's not the advice I'd give if it's your teenager that you're worried about, because if you said, well, I'll come to the pub with you, they'll be like, no, Mum, that's ridiculous. I don't want you to do that. But encourage them to think of somebody, a family member of their age, or someone that they know that could go with them to new things. And finally, I'd say reassure them that it can take time and effort, just as it is for all of us. I think I started by saying that yeah, sometimes we do make instant friendships, but just as for ourselves, as for other people, do reassure them that it will take time and effort to feel less lonely, and they shouldn't be disheartened if things don't move at a fast pace. But I always think time's going to pass anyway. A year's going to pass from now, and in that year, or that 6 months, say, you could take, that's time that you could have been putting yourself out there and making an effort. If you don't, then that 6 months is going to pass anyway. But back to what I said right at the beginning, think about a friend or friends you've had in the past, and you know you can make friends. It just takes a bit of time and a bit of effort, and you've got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, it's about I like what you said about it's having the intention, but then also you've got to take action, haven't you? People, great new friends aren't going to just knock on the door necessarily.
No, and it's hard. I think courage is probably also the word I'd use. Courage is comes from the French word coeur, courage. It comes from the heart. You've got to take a deep breath and just give it a go.
Yeah, because it's the feeling that you're looking for, isn't it, about that connection? So it's worth that discomfort. I just had a few questions, if that's okay, just based on the last few things you talked about. If anyone else has any questions, then put them in the chat. First of all, what are the signs of loneliness in other people? So people, because I think quite often people aren't, and like we said at the beginning, I suppose, are not very forthcoming in saying, oh, I feel lonely at the moment. So I wondered if there's signs to look out for in our friends, or especially post-pandemic. I think people are more nervous, maybe more about going out with people, but they're still maybe feeling that loneliness. Are there things we should look out for?
Yeah, I think when you think, gosh, maybe they're withdrawn, maybe slightly depressed, maybe you think, they've been quite quiet and withdrawn. They're not the same person. Obviously, if you know them well, you would start to see a difference in them. If they said that they, if you said, oh, so what have you been up to the last couple of weeks? Have you seen this person or that person? People that they normally see, and they start saying, oh no, they were busy, or I didn't want to bother them, or I wasn't sure. So when you a reluctance to see and meet people, appearing to be quite withdrawn, maybe depressed, not feeling yeah, that you know, that they've got no one. You actually just think about, yeah, who have they seen? What have they been doing? They haven't. I've just realized this. This is not how they used to be. So that's not so easy with someone you don't know. You might start a new job and have a colleague and have no idea whether they're lonely or not. But more for the people that you do know, you will notice a difference. And I think sometimes you can maybe just even say, are you feeling lonely? Or or just, are you feeling that you're not seeing enough people? You're not getting out as much as you used to. Yeah, ask them.
Yeah, just asking the question. You're right. Just kind
Yeah,
of, and then the gentle encouragement, isn't it? Like you said, kind of doing things
yeah.
with them, inviting them to things. At the festival I just worked at, there we talked a lot about. We did talk a lot about connection, and there was a guy talking about when he had a breakdown, and he said there was he lost most of his friends. There was one friend who just called him every month and said, "Are you ready to talk yet?" He said, no, no, no. A few months went past, but he kept phoning, and this was only once a month. And then eventually he said, yeah. And now they're obviously still super friends. But he said, just knowing that call would come every month was like a lifeline to him. So I think it's important, isn't it, to just keep reaching out.
It's so true. A friend said that. Well, she I don't know her really well, but she said exactly the same thing to me last year. I didn't even realize that she had mental health difficulties. And she said, we went out for coffee one day, and she said, I just want to say thanks for persisting with me. And I sort of hadn't even realized I had. It's just that I was doing things like, I don't know, sending her a joke on WhatsApp or just something that came to my mind. It was just something that I do. I thought, oh, Carol would like this, or oh, I must ask Carol if she knows about that. So it was just occasionally, but she saw it as just me keeping that connection and was really appreciative of it. So yeah, again, sometimes, see, I didn't know she was struggling. So that's the other thing. If you don't know someone's lonely, sometimes, that's another reason to just be a good friend anyway.
Yeah, to be thoughtful, isn't it? And you don't need to have loads of time to send a text or to just, it doesn't necessarily need to require a lot of time or money from you. One other question I had, how many, I like a statistic, but how many friends would you say is good or optimal, or does that like totally depend on the person? Is there kind of like a number?
Yeah, I haven't got a number, but there's something called Dunbar's number, Dunbar. Robin Dunbar is a psychologist who came up with this theory that I think I sort of subscribe to. He says that generally the most people we can know is 150 people, and you can see that at people's weddings. There's often up to 150 people there. They're people, they're made up of all sorts of people. Then there's 50 people that you know and send Christmas cards to. Well, we used to send Christmas cards. Yeah, people don't do that so much anymore. And then there's 15 people that you would say are up to 15. So this isn't you have 50 or 100, up to 15 people that are friends, good friends, you see them. And then there's between 3 and 5 people that are good friends. And he says you can't, and they could be family members, some of those 3 to 5 people. He says you can't have any more good, close friends than that, because it requires an investment of time, and we don't have that much time. So 3 to 5 really good close friends, and that could be 1 or 2 close friends. So it's up to 3 to 5, then 15, up to 15 friends that, they're people you see quite regularly, go out with, have fun with, do things with, and then up to 50 people that, you might send Christmas cards to, and then, that above 100 would be the people, the second cousin that you invite to your wedding or something like that.
I can feel the introverts in the group cringing at 150.
Yeah, no, panic, awful, isn't it? Yeah, I'm an extrovert, but just that sort of number to me is like, oh God, yeah.
But so 3 to 5, because after that you're not doing it as well as you could. It's kind of, you're spreading yourself too thinly. Yeah, I've definitely recognized that. Brilliant. Any questions, anybody else from the chat box? Checking in can make a huge impact. Yeah, also saying how are you rather than hope you're well. Love that. Yeah. So just start asking the questions, isn't it, and showing an interest. People it's nice when people are interested in us.
Absolutely. And just little things like, oh, I remembered you talked about this 3 months ago. I've just seen this article about it. Little things like that make people go, oh my God, I can't believe they remembered that. So if you see it, don't hesitate. Don't think, oh, Steve was interested in that, and then move on. Just think, no, actually, I'll send it to him. It takes seconds, and they're not going to think, what she sent me that for. Just put, I saw this, we talked about it a couple of months ago, thought it might be of interest.
Yeah, be more thoughtful, I think, is a great way to leave tonight, isn't it? I've just shared the book link in the chat, guys. Loneliness. This is the book by the lovely Gill, with loads of more tips and tricks and actual kind of like, practical stuff we can do and things we can say, conversation starters, all that kind of stuff. Over connection. We're not meant to have tons and tons of friends. We don't have the time to do it properly.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to be connected, but it's about the right connections as well, isn't it? And kind of like, are they serving us, and are they, like you said at the beginning, what kind of friends are we looking for, and getting intentional about that. And I wrote good influences, because it's like I am looking for more people in my life that are kind of going to kind of explore those kind of sides of, but like more wholesome stuff, well-being, all that kind of thing. So I love the idea of getting intentional and kind of choosing friends, and also not being scared when someone says no. Like rejection therapy.
Absolutely. That's sort of like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Did I say the wrong thing? Probably not.
No, it's you, not me. That's what we'll say from that. Thank you so much, Gill. It's been really nice to hang out with you this Monday evening. Thank you for all those tips. Someone said they've read the book in 2 days already. Amazing. Well done, Kirsty. Gold star. Thanks, guys, for being here. So I've recorded this, and I will share it in the email tomorrow and on the platform for anyone who wants to have a look back or share it with their friends. Maybe could be a good tip to do. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody. Shelf Helpies, we will be back here next Monday. We're going to do a watch party next Monday, actually. The film is called Thanks for Sharing, and it's about a recovery group. So it's kind of a comedy. It's actually a sex addiction recovery group is what it's about, but it's apparently very funny and cute. And that's David Mahoney's recommendation, so we can blame him. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Gill. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.